Hello, this is Bill Steffen. Now, as I tape this Monday night, I've been watching the KP index to see if we'll be able to see the northern lights, and it's been running around a 5.5. Sometimes with a 5.5 on a really clear night, we can see a little bit of a green glow from Grand Rapids off to the north. But we have that layer of smoke out there, and 5.5 is pretty marginal to begin with here, so I doubt that that's the case. While we were under the smoke here Saturday night, the smoky conditions here allowed a little bit of a glimpse of the northern lights. A couple of people managed to see that, but other places, even all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico that had a totally clear sky, were able to see the aurora borealis or northern lights. That's a picture taken by daughter number 2, and she was driving in Wayland. I got a picture of the sun, which you can always tell it looks a little bit different. The particulate matter there's a layer of smoke up there. Particulate matter blocks out a lot of the sun, and as the sun gets lowered at the horizon, the sun gets first yellow and then orange and then a faint red, and then it just disappears even before it gets to the horizon. Interesting grammatical note here. Filled with smoke is smoky without the E, like a smoky sky or the Smoky Mountains, and Smoky with an E refers to the mascot Smoky the Bear that the U.S. Fire Service has had for probably 75 years, I would think, since they've been going around with Smoky the Bear. Only you can prevent forest fires. You've probably heard that before. Okay, more on the smoky skies here. That's a satellite picture during the day today, and you can see that kind of milky white condition here over West Michigan. The sky was a bit clearer as you got over toward Lake St. Clair and Lake Erie. A little update on the fires in Manitoba. As I mentioned before, I've been trying to get some useful information for you on what's going on up there. There are 25 active fires in Manitoba, plus, by the way, there's fires in Saskatchewan, Alberta, Northeast British Columbia, and Western Ontario as well. But the concentration is in Manitoba, east and north of Lake Winnipeg. There are 25 active fires. 10 of them are said to be out of control, meaning that they are not. But the good news is that there's 15 that are not out of control. There are 137 firefighters full-time on the fires, 38 helicopters, and 6 water bombers. That's where the planes come down. There are a lot of lakes up there, and they can skim the water and pick up water and then lift that up again and dump it over on the fires. And then we have 61 pieces of heavy equipment. Those are like giant bulldozers that go in there and try and make a fire break. So they're working on the fires, and I think the biggest thing for us is that the winds are going to pick up out of the south, and because of that south wind, it's going to blow the smoke back up into Canada, and we should have a little brighter conditions with time here over the next couple of days or so. Okay, here's a look at some comparison high temperatures here for Monday afternoon. The average high temperature for Grand Rapids for June the 2nd is 76. Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo both reached 79. At the Muskegon Pier, it was in the low 60s during the afternoon. So again, there was about that 15-degree difference with the southwest wind there coming in off the water. The high temperature at the Muskegon Pier was 68, and that was at 10 o'clock in the afternoon. So the sun goes down, and it actually gets warmer. That's because the wind turns a little bit more southeast off the land and not off the water. But kind of interesting here. Well, Lakeshore forecast, this is important. This is going to be a breezy day out there, and that means it's going to be a dangerous day at some of the piers and breakwaters out there. The winds are going to be out of the south-southwest, which means the south-southwest sides of the piers are going to be dangerous, and they're going to be picking up a current because that water can't get through the pier or breakwater there, and it has to go around it. So it creates that current flowing from the land to out in the mid part of the ocean, or not the ocean, the lake. Waves 2 to 5 feet, and that's like the danger zone too. A lot of people that drowned in Lake Michigan drowned when there were waves around 3 feet. So keep that in mind. There's a beach hazard statement in effect, especially the Grand Haven. At Grand Haven, we have the pier out there, and a lot of kids like to jump off the south side. That's where that current can be. But there's a couple of reasons why you probably don't want to be jumping in the water. By the way, the high temperature here on Tuesday is going to be about 74 at the water. So it'd be probably the warmest day of the year there so far. But the water temperature is still very frigid. I think we got my notes here, 46 at Saugatuck Oval Beach. So it's not going to be real fun to jump in the lake, that's for sure. If you really want to go swimming, try an inland lake. The water temperature at Reed's Lake in East Grand Rapids did get up to 65. That's a little better. But there's a beach hazard statement, small craft advisories in effect until 8 a.m. on Wednesday. A look at what's ahead here for us. Partly to mostly sunny skies today. There will be some rain Tuesday night and Wednesday. And we're looking at about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch here. So this is going to be a significant rain. It has been on the dry side here of late. Today will be the warmest day of the week, and even though temperatures reach the 80s inland, it will be a good 10, maybe even 13, 14 degrees cooler if you're going to be over by Lake Michigan. Time to take a break and thank our sponsors. We'll be right back with the updated forecast for you in just a minute.
And we're so thankful for our Bill Steffen sponsors, making it possible for us to do what we do. Complete Care Concierge, LLC, the fast, efficient, and affordable cleaning service serving all of West Michigan. Complete Care Concierge has you covered, the small business with personal service. They clean your home, your apartment, your condo, your rental, your office, your business. They can do a one-time clean, a special situation, a repeated basis, move in, move out, 616-264-1397. And we will put the phone number in the show notes. And here's a word from our other sponsor.
When your home needs help, you might not know where to start. Why not ask Ace? We're always here to help with Ace Handyman Services. Our talented craftsmen handle everything from drywall and carpentry to doors and kitchens. We're the neighbors you trust to get the job done right. Let's get started. Book your handyman appointment today. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Here's a look at our sunrise and sunset, longest days of the year occurring over the next 5 weeks or so. Sunrise now 6:05 in Grand Rapids, and the sun will set at 9:16. Utqiagvik in Alaska is the northernmost town in Alaska. It used to be called Barrow, and in fact, they had a vote amongst the thousands of people to see whether they would revert back to the old native name for the town or to keep Barrow. And they voted for the native name, but only by 6 votes. I thought that was pretty interesting. Next sunset there is August 2nd. They are north of the Arctic Circle, so they get the midnight sun. And you can go out there and walk around. The sun is shining brightly at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. If you get down as far as Fairbanks, I was there a couple of years ago. There they have a pretty heavy twilight, but the sun does go below the horizon there. Right around the solstice. So kind of interesting. Okay, we're going to move on here and take a look at 66-hour rainfall from Texas up toward Illinois, Wisconsin. Another band back toward Nebraska, northwest Kansas. That's where the heavy rain is going to be. And look at South Florida. Holy cow. Look at that red color down there. I did do a query on Miami, and its computer is giving them 5.3 inches of rain over the next 3 days. Now, they could use some rain down there, and usually that doesn't cause much in the way of flooding problems. And we need episodes like this to kind of fill up the Everglades with water. Every now and then they get a front that stalls over them, and they get round after round of thunder showers, and they get very little severe weather, but they do get the heavy rain there. So that's what's going to be going on during the next 3 days. Not the best if you want to hang by the pool, if you're on vacation, but that heavy rain confined mainly to the southern half of the Florida Peninsula. I want to take a look at Michigan because we're going to be getting some rain here. So we'll zoom in a little bit here. And I put the probability table up for Grand Rapids here. It's got an 82% chance of getting 1/2 inch of rain here over 3 days. And I think that's a pretty good guess. I think most areas will get 1/2 to 3/4 inch. A few spots could get as much as an inch. The ground is pretty dry here, so it should soak that up pretty well. 0% chance of getting 3 inches of rain and only 2% of 2 inches. So this one is pretty well specified for us here with that 1/2 to 3/4 inch. And that will come late Tuesday night into at least the morning hours here during the day on Wednesday. Wednesday morning commute here is going to be wet. There could be an embedded thunder shower in there, but chance of severe weather is not 0, but it is small. And we'll take a look at that here for just a second. The Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk this Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday night from Texas up to southwest Wisconsin. And then that green marginal risk does come into West Michigan. If you were to draw a line from Muskegon to Big Rapids to about Sheboygan, from there north, that dark green indicating that we've got a marginal risk of severe weather. Note that there's no severe weather for southern Florida. They do get a general thunderstorm output there, but not anything severe. And look at out in the desert Southwest. There is a chance of a thundershower today in Los Angeles. It's a small chance, but it's a chance. San Diego, Los Angeles, north of Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas has a chance of a thundershower. So that's kind of interesting. And then we move ahead here to Wednesday. And on Wednesday, we have just a marginal risk. That's level 1. And that runs through most of Indiana up into southeast Michigan, generally areas east of a line from, South Bend to just east of Grand Rapids to around Saginaw Bay or so. And then there's another marginal area out toward New Mexico. But we're not anticipating much in the way of severe weather, if any. I think the main thing we'll hear will be about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of rain and maybe a few flashes of lightning. Okay, taking a look at today's forecast, 86 degrees, mid-80s here. That's if we can clear out a little bit of the smoke here. Temperatures start the day in the low 60s or so, and the sky will look a little smoky out there. Humidity dropping to 50% during the afternoon, and winds a factor, south to southwest, 15 to 25 miles an hour. So it does get on the windy side here this afternoon. It won't be that windy here during the early to mid-morning. Okay, taking a look at some of the high temperatures across the area today. Grand Rapids at 86, Kalamazoo at 86, South Bend gets 89. Out over the lake, temperatures are only in the 60s and even some 50s there. South Haven, right down by the water, gets a high of 67. I think it's going to get a little warmer than that in South Haven. I think the computer's a little bit shy here. If you look at South Haven at 77, I would imagine that that stretch from Benton Harbor up north toward the Holland area should be in the at least the low to mid 70s during the afternoon. Traverse City and Houghton Lake get 85 degrees. And if you're taking a look up in the UP, temperatures there should be in the low to mid 70s, even down by the water. And then we move ahead to the day on Wednesday. Cooler air starts to move in. 71. By the way, they changed the color palette on this graphic here a couple days ago, so you don't see the bright reds here in the 80s, like you used to see. 71 for Greenville, 68 in Newaygo, 76 Kalamazoo, 81 at Jackson, 85 at Hillsdale. So there'll be quite a temperature disparity here across the area from one end of the area to the other, with the warmest temperatures southeast, and that's where there'll be a better chance for an afternoon thundershower to pop up. Taking a look at the 5-day forecast here, I've got a 20% chance of a thundershower in for Tuesday evening. Best bet for that for the early evening would be north of Muskegon along the lake there. I think we can get in the Whitecaps game, which I hope to be attending. So if you're headed to the Whitecaps game here, it's bulletin night, so grab a church bulletin or a community pamphlet of some kind, and you'll be able to get in and get a ticket for half price, which is what we do on nights like this. 70% chance of a shower thunderstorm on Wednesday. I'd probably put the chance of rain Wednesday at about 95%. So it's really high. The chance of getting a flash of lightning or a rumble of thunder would be about 70%. Most of Thursday will turn out to be dry. I can't totally rule out a shower. And there'll be a chance of a shower here on Friday. Temperatures here cool off a little bit. We're back into the mid 70s, which is closer to average for this time of year. Don't see anything drastically cold. The first 2 days of June, we've had low temperatures in the mid upper 30s across the area. So that's a pretty good cool shot here for early June. Let's take a look at the 8 to 14 day outlook. We'll start with the temperature outlook. We're in the near normal category here, with above average temperatures kind of all around us a little bit. It should be pleasant if you're headed up toward the UP for the second week of June. You can see the above average temperatures in the 90s across South Texas and in Florida once again as the rain clears out. Rainfall on the 8 to 14 day forecast looks like this. We're going to be seeing a fair amount of rain across the Great Lakes down through the southern United States. So look for several rounds of thunderstorms during that period. And again, with an average temperature spread, average temperatures do climb to around 80 as we head through the mid part of the month of June. So a lot of good summer weather ahead here. And once again, I hope we see a couple of you at the Whitecaps game. If you see me, stop and say hi. Tell me you like
Do
the
churches still do bulletins?
That's a good question. A lot of churches have stopped doing bulletins and have only the information online right now.
Ours still does them.
Free, right?
Mm-hmm. But if you don't, how do you have proof?
You have a cat.
Yes, Rosie says hi.
Yeah, Rosie. Oh, Rosie, I'm over here. The people are out here. And she's looking the other way. She's being shy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
hey,
elevated
fire risk. This is an issue here through probably Wednesday. When we get into Thursday, we will have had some rain, but especially with the wind here today, we have an elevated fire risk, and the humidity should be back down around a minimum of 45 to 50% here during the afternoon. Probably some wind gusts up around 30 miles an hour, and pine needles can dry out quickly.
And here's another photo that I found of the Canada wildfires.
That's a great photo. Look at how thick that smoke is up there. Mm-hmm. And there are fires, and that's not unusual. We have more fires than usual, but it's not unusual to have a number of fires going across Canada here during the late spring and summer. So interesting. 17,000 evacuated. That's a hefty total of people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't mess around. And John Doherty sent us a picture of the smoke up there. You can see the gray color. Normally that would be a bright blue sky. We haven't even been able to pop a cumulus cloud the past couple of days. So quite a difference that smoke layer makes.
Mm-hmm. All right, June 3, 1868, the Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, and Allegan Railroad incorporated, and it was a consolidation of other railroads that had started earlier. And the Kalamazoo to Grand Rapids line was 58 miles, which is the number of miles between Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo. It's 58 miles by 131 as well.
By the way, I think part of that building is still there, and it's if you're traveling on 131, it's just south of the downtown area on the east side. So if you're traveling north, it would be on your right side. If you're traveling south, it would be on your left side. But the old train station,
beautiful.
It is. There were some beautiful train stations, and of course they were open. That was a place you could kind of hide from the elements, in the wintertime if you wanted. Interesting.
And this is how the railroad network looked in 1876. And I don't know what of this was passenger service and what was freight, because I would imagine that the freight network still looks something like this, but we don't have this for passenger service anymore. Right.
And I remember the Badger and its twin brother, the Spartan, the ferries that went across from Ludington to Manitowoc were fitted to take railroad cars across the lake. And then as the railroad traffic diminished, they refitted them to fit motor vehicles as people started to travel by car and truck. So interesting.
And here's what we have for passenger rail today.
Yep, we got the train coming up from Chicago into Grand Rapids. I have not taken that recently because all I have now is my brother that lives north of Chicago up in Deerfield. But when my parents lived down there in Wilmette, how many times did I take the train down from? I probably 10 times maybe, and it was always very pleasant. It wasn't always on time, but it was a very pleasant route. And then as you can see, we got the trains running from Chicago up toward Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, Jackson, Ann Arbor, and then over toward Detroit. And then at Battle Creek, you can catch a line going over to Port Huron, where you can cross and head into Canada. So that's a look at that.
So I thought we could tell everyone about our train trip. We took a train trip.
We did. Look at me. Yeah. And anybody who's watching, does anybody recognize where that is? I know where that is. That is Chinatown in Boston. And that was another great trip. It really was. We caught the train at Boston and traveled down to Washington, D.C.
We flew into Boston, and from there, I think we took the bus. I don't remember taking a metro in Boston, but maybe we did. But we got to the hotel somehow. And then the hotel was near the train station, and we got up the next day and we got on the train to ride the train for the day from Boston to Washington, D.C.
Michelle is the ultimate travel agent. She can set everything up for you and everything is fine. I don't have to think about it at all. It's really great.
It is my favorite thing. If I'm not planning my own trips, the next best thing is planning other people's.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And that
And
is
this
the
was
Boston Commons area. And that was a beautiful summer evening. It really was. We stopped by the American Meteorological Society, which is headquartered in Boston. And there were these, I don't know if you can look right center left in the distance, you can see the swans. They have these, I think they're paddle boats, aren't they? They're paddle boats. You can rent one of those and go around the pond there. But really,
really was just a
very
beautiful night to
historic
walk
place.
around. Hmm.
Yeah, we got to see the old. Didn't we see the Old North Church? We saw a couple of churches,
And the
we saw,
American Meteorological Society.
we saw
Very
one
important.
cemetery where they have people buried from like the 1700s. It was interesting.
And this was on the train. This was passing through New York, New York.
You can see the big tall buildings there. It was New York City. Beautiful day. You can see a couple of jet contrails and some cirrus clouds in the sky, and just a really great day. And you're up high here, so you could look out and see the city and everything. It was great.
And
Well,
there we
I
are
look
in
relaxed.
Washington. Yes, we arrived at Union Station, which is on the red line. And rather than taking that to the blue line and transferring over, we decided to walk across the mall and pick up the blue line on the other side. And that's what goes to DCA Airport.
Yep.
So we had
He's
a lovely
just a
walk.
Bill. He's only a Bill.
And I think it was Chuck Schumer that we passed.
Yes.
Walked right in front of us.
He had 3 or 4 aides or bodyguards with him as he was crossing, and he was on the other side of the street. So I didn't want to bother the guy or anything like that. I can imagine people running up and asking for an autograph or a selfie or something like that. And I'm like, nah, they're busy people. But yeah, you always wonder sometimes if you're walking down the street, who's going to pass you. Yeah,
so that was fun. And then from there, we flew home. So that was our train trip. It was a wonderful time.
Great trip.
All right, World Bicycle Day, June 3.
Neat.
The actual name of this song, written in 1892, is Daisy Bell. It is the first song sung by computer speech synthesis by IBM engineers in 1961.
Who would
The
know
lyrics
that?
include, "But you'll look sweet upon the seat,
The seat of a bicycle built for 2. Yep.
Very good.
There's your bicycle built for 2. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, really old song. Goes all the way back to 1892.
Yes, that was a men's quartet song where everybody would sing a different melody or track to it. Like what else? Light a rose, I'm home again, Rose. That was another one. That was from the Music Man.
Do you remember the quartet song that they played at Grandpa's funeral?
Give me a second here. Something about sunshine. Was that right?
No.
I
know a tear would glisten if one day I could listen to the gang that sang.
Heart of my heart.
There you go.
There we go. We got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Because Dad did sing, and he was a professional drummer for a while. And he played everything, xylophone and marimba and everything else like that. So
and I remember harmonica.
Yes, he was a great harmonica player, as were several of his brothers were great harmonica players. And my dad could play a little bit on the violin, of all things. How do you go from violin? He started out on the violin and then went from violin to drums. Interesting. Matthew Hooksema sent us this picture from Holland, a beautiful sunset there.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, I wish I was there watching the sunset. That would be fun. And it's something you can do for essentially free. They don't charge you admission to see the sunset over there. So that's pretty cool.
But there's never the same one twice.
I
have a photo of a beautiful rainbow that I took in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I couldn't help but think that no one else in time, before or after, is going to see that rainbow.
Yep. I sometimes have had... I've taken a peanut out of my pocket and said, I'm going to show you something that you've never seen before and that you're never going to see again. And everybody goes up to the edge of their seat and I pop the peanut in my mouth and I go, never going to see it again. That's kind of interesting.
Well, it's amazing the moments that we get to live in.
Yes. And I said, West Michigan is a great place to be. I know it can sometimes get you down just a little bit when we have an endless string of cloudy, gray, short days here during the wintertime, but we make up for it in the summertime with these beautiful summer days and the nice sunrises and sunsets we see.
And the pictures were so pretty, I had to put in another one.
The chair disappeared.
Yeah.
It's the same picture, but the chair is gone. What happened to the chair?
Yep.
Uh,
I don't know.
a little bit of a high tide here. And John Doherty, boy, that's a nice picture. Look at that with the varying clouds there. It's almost like like little ripples, like you'd find in the lake or something like that. The streaks coming on in here. And of course, John is up in Benzie County, one of the more beautiful spots in West Michigan, if you want to head up in that direction.
The smallest county by land.
Smallest county by land. In terms of population, I think it's about the fourth smallest. A couple of UP counties beat it out. Well, the sun is, this is John Scully.
Yep, this is the other John.
In the Muskegon area, and we don't know if that's a sunrise or a sunset.
They're going.
Yeah, you can see the tree there in the distance, and the twilight lasts a long time this time of year. We get twilight gets short in the wintertime. Sun goes down and sets pretty much straight down, so it gets dark pretty quickly. But in summertime, you can actually see a hint of twilight an hour after the sun sets here during June, an hour before the sun rises. Interesting. Wow.
So small craft advisory. So if you're an art teacher or a camp counselor, that's for you. Beware of small crafts. And for everyone, the elevated risk of fire.
Yeah, that's right. And like I said, if you see me at the Whitecaps game, stop and say hi. The wind is going to be blowing out, so I'm expecting a few home runs here. We're going to have a south-southwest wind gusting to around 30 miles an hour. Should be a good one. Hope you enjoyed the day. It'll be the warmest day that we've had so far this summer season in places. So get out and enjoy. Thanks again for joining us here on the web.